Oh. Call this meeting to order. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Nklahuma and Seal people. Adoption of minutes. So the recommendation is that the minutes of the Recreational Advisor Committee held on November 7th, 2024 be adopted. So moved. Oh, second. All in favor? Perfect. There's no general matters, no unfinished business, so we'll go right on to new business with the Otter Swim Club rate request. So it looks like they've provided a letter to us about the new bylaw rates for the swim pool rentals. And if everybody's had a chance to look at it or want to look at it, they're just requesting a change to that, I guess, or leniency in their fees. Yes, Mayor Gantz.
Zach, that could give us a kind of an update on where we're going here and what we're looking at, because we do have the package, but there's certain things in that package, such as costs, such as what they pay their staff, money for gifts and stuff. So I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll start.
Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Chair. Councilor. Yeah, moving forward with their letter, they are looking for a reduction in rate. I've requested their financials, and as they've proven them and given them to you to show what they pay and cost to operate their organization. We can go through it if you'd like, the revenue of what their revenue is to bring money in to accommodate for costs. Swimming registration, their registration for summer is $8,000. Their winter for registration, they collect $4,000. They get a grant and aid from the city for their swim meet for $1,260. Registration fees they collect for their meets at other facilities, $4,000. Advertising and sponsorship, they collect $1,000. For food that they sell, obviously they get to about $200 for that. In-kind labor and materials, they have $60,000 for that. Fundraising, they have a 50-50 gaming account. They've raised $2,500 annually. Bottle drives, they collect $1,500. They get a $13,650 gaming grant, a CSJ grant as well for $10,557. They got a one-time grant from Interior Savings for $400 for a laptop. And then for swimmers equipment and merchandise, they raised $1,000. So their total revenue that they brought in was approximately $108,077. So their expenses to run their club, their lane fees, and these are the lane fees that are at $7 an hour. So the old rates, they pay $6,000. The pool rental, estimating the pending quote for their swim meets, $1,400. Swimming awards, they cost them $500. Ribbons and medals, they pay out $2,000. Audio equipment, they pay out $500. Other equipment and supplies, they pay out $500. For food, they cost them $400. Getting printing done, $600. Goodie bags, they have $100. Summer coaches, salary and wages, they pay out $26,000. For allowances and extra expenses, they have $6,000. They give out $1,000 bursary. Education expenses, they have $500 for that. And for uniforms and our pool pass, they allocate $300 to that. Their winter coaches, they give out $5,000 for salaries for them with $1,000 of expenses. They have equipment, a new laptop for their crash desk is $2,000. Swimming equipment, $500. Storage fees, $800. Meat fees, $200. Office supplies, $200. Bookkeeping fees are $1,600. BCSA insurance fees are $3,800. Society Act fees, $40. Advertising, $1,000, and then they have in-kind labor materials for $60,000 for total expenses of $122,140. On the bottom, they have some flags, some some things where this year's actual summer registration, they had raised $7,908. So that would be a change. So it's less than the 8,000 that they had projected. Just less by $92. They received the $13,650 from Community Gaming Grant, and they received the $10,557 from a Canada Summer Job Grant, covered the portion of wages for their summer program of coaches. They flagged if the city increases 150% rate increase to the lane rental, that'll cost approximately $15,000. So in your other package, I did a breakdown, as well as the first page will be the City of Merritt's service fees and charges of it starts with, it's the arena and the pool. So down lower will be the pool's admission fees. The second page, it'll go down right to the bottom for lane rental per hour. And that's the $1,750. So that's what we're talking about. That's what the request is, that's too much for them. The next page, I broke down what their last season was for hours used. And the one column is at the billings at $7 a lane. The column next to it is at $750 a lane. So what the increases would look like at their summer camp compared to their winter camp. And then I also did a lane breakdown of what their swimming lanes. So I went on an average, because average they usually have on their winter session about 20 members. That number can change whether they get more registration or less numbers registration, but on average they usually get about 20. So I just used that number as participants, and it showed a breakdown for their season. At $7 a lane, they would be having to charge each member $123.90 for their winter session. That's 354 hours. And they usually rent 3 lanes, so it works out to about $1.05 per session, or per hour per session. With the rate increase at $1,750 for the winter, their bill would be $6,195, which would, if the same 20 members, would put their rates up to $238 per person. And then the lane rental per hour would be, if they went to 3 lanes, would be about $2.62 per person per hour. And then next down will be their spring summer hours and what that looks like. So what they're talking about, their normal bill rate was approximately $6,000. Their new bill would be about $15,000. So it's an increase of approximately $10,000. I know this group is aware of our recreational facilities, our target of, slowly increasing the rates, and we haven't increased rates for such a long time that we need to start. So this increase, I just wanted to show everybody, and on the next page, you'll have that comparison of what the Nickel Valley Aquatic Center actually operates at. It operates at a 16.7% user fee recovery. And this actual $10,000 increase is only a 0.8 increase on that 16. So it would put it up to 17.6%. I just put a note on the bottom that we have other swim clubs that come to our facility. They get billed out the lane rental, and they also get billed out a user fee. So every swimmer gets charged a user fee for the time they swim as well. Our swim club does not get charged that. They just pay for the lane rental fee. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Sacco, for getting that all together for us. So I do realize that that's quite the jump. And no matter which way we look at it, it's quite the jump. I also do realize that, we are on a 2-year mission to get ourselves back in the black. We've already gone through this with the field user situation. Am I prepared to go 1750? No, I'm not. That's just a little too much, a little too soon. So one of the things that I would suggest, and I will just run it by, and this, again, this will go to council, just for your thoughts, and Mr. Zackel, let me know how you feel. We give them a grant and aid of $1,200 and somewhat dollars. I would suggest we pull the grant and aid, but we give them the pool for the event for nothing. So we give them the pool, which I think saves them,
1,400,
no, it's more than that.
just for the one event or for the whole season?
It's for the one event, when they have their swim event. And I think that's the savings of, I think we talked about $6,000 somewhere around there.
No, this, for the one event, this page says 1,400.
Just,
Oh. Oh,
Thank you, thank you. So on their swim club meet rental, we did a tentative schedule, what it would look like for cost, because if we were to cost recover on a full event, operational wise, we have to staff that event. There are costs to running a facility, bringing in lifeguards to make sure all these participants are protected and safeguarded, front end staff, mechanical equipment. Our maintenance group has to come in as well as make sure the chemicals are balanced, the cost of extra chemicals. So we came up with a number about a $7,000 bill for what a weekend would look like. And that was a long weekend bill. So it is a little higher than what normally would be. Because we also put wages in at double time on the one day. But it is a substantial bill. Normally, we do on a weekend, they would be billed approximately, back in the day when the rates were so low, it was about $1,400 bill for Saturday, Sunday only, not Fridays. Friday would be the prep day that normally never got charged out, but we started charging it out because it costs. We have to shut the facility down for the public, so there's a cost to doing that.
and on occasion, we actually drain out the leisure pool so they can,
We used to, and we don't do that anymore
Okay, good.
because that is another huge cost to remove the water, to safeguard the area for safety wise. More guarding is needed because now it's a fall hazard. And then when we have to reload it, it's the infusion of extra chemicals to get us up and running, the extra energy to heat that water to get it up to temperature before we can have users. So that's a huge and extra cost that we just can't bear, and swim club's not willing to pay for that.
so as I muddle along here, I would suggest that we offer them the meat covered. Now also the pool is partnership with TNRD. They are part of that, and we would go to them for some funding on this as well, because it's partially their pool. So we would see what we could get from either the area M or N director as far as their discretionary funds, that they should be able to help us out with this. Then I would suggest that we move the rates, and for myself, I would be comfortable for around $13 for this year, and then raise it up a certain percent every year for the next 4 or 5 years until we get to a point where we are in the black. As this group has sat through the user fees, everything costs and everything goes up. And I'm really appreciative of the work this group has done that got us to the budget, got us to the where we are now. And once again, we are sitting here on this now. I do know that the swim club has been very involved in the community, and I want to see them continue to do so. I know that's a very big meet for them. They're very proud of it. I try to attend it. I've handed out awards, so as council. So that's my one suggestion that I would throw out. But I would be open to listen to what everybody else has to say. So, thank you.
Lisa.
I'm a little concerned about kind of where we're generating these percentages from. When we start looking at the bigger picture of all the user groups, like how did we come to the ball percentage? How do we come to the Otters swim club percentage, right? And I think that we have a responsibility to at least have collectively at least like around how did we come to those numbers, right? Like I'm thinking about like the cost of it to run. Well, clearly it's going to be a lot more than what the ball fields will be. But I have a little bit of a concern about like just jumping into a number without thinking about the whole landslide of how are we coming to these percentages of increases. Not to say that I'm disagreeing by any means. I just think that we just need to be careful about that. Like, just by simply agreeing with you, and then someone says, well, how'd you come to that number? That's a great question. And another user group, how'd you come to that number? Right? So I just want us to think about that for a moment before we make a decision as to what that should be. I think the bigger question is like, what is the expectation right across the board based on the pool being quite an expensive, facility to run versus dragging a field? That's going to come into play, right? So I appreciate all the numbers that you've provided. I would like to hear anyone else's thoughts around that.
And jump in here, Dave, if you need to. So these numbers are handed to our staff and our directors. And one of the failings of councils that I've sat on in the past is the fact that we've always been hesitant to raise anything. The other night, we were talking about transit. There hasn't been a transit increase in 18 years. That's unacceptable. Because now you end up with this sledgehammer over the head because you've neglected to do your fiduciary responsibility to move these up slowly where everybody can handle the cost raise. We are at a situation now, because we haven't had a raise in many years, that we are trying to close the gap with numbers that are operating numbers that have been put through our CFO along with the staff. And these are historical numbers that we need to cover. Every year, chemical goes up. We have a very large repair bill at the pool on the mechanical deck in the back that we've got to get to as well. And I'm not sure we want to talk about that number, but it's extensive. Pool is 29 years old, 30 years old. So we're hedging in on the end of life of that building. So there's things that are going wrong with it. Now, when I say end of life, it doesn't mean we're replacing it. It just means we need to spend money to keep it running, and we'll continue to do so. But this comes at a cost. And again, for myself, and I sat on councils that did not raise when we should have, and we should have. So yeah, you're right. We throw numbers out, but these are numbers that are generated by the professionals and the directors on what will cover the costs of manpower, chemicals needed, and the operation of it. These aren't numbers that just come out of anywhere. These are numbers that we should have been addressing years ago, and we didn't. So here we are, and it comes to your feet, right? Just like the field users group did. And again, when we throw out a number like $17.50, it's a shock number. It's a number to go, oh. So we get some, I expect pushback on every time we do something. And that's why we kind of go a little extensive, because this is the reality of where we're at. And this group has seen that reality, right? So, again, these numbers, I mean, we're not making any decisions here tonight. We're talking about it, and I don't know if there's a time limit on this, but I'll let the director take it from there.
Thank you. Well, time limit on this will be, obviously, this is a rate bylaw that's already been passed by council. So this rate is in effect. Swim Club starts on the 14th of January. So they will be using this rate until any said change happens. Just moving forward, just so everybody's aware of that. When we're talking fees and rates and numbers and how we can get to there, the biggest thing is like the operational costs of a pool, just like any other facility, we're not gonna cost recover. We can't charge that kind of money. There's no way we can. It is subsidized by the taxpayers. It's subsidized by our TNRD infusions. It's, we're looking into other avenues of advertising and naming of buildings. Like we're still honestly working hard to try to be able to keep our costs down. And where we got the 1750 from, it doesn't even, to my mind, it's only a 0.8% of increase to the revenue. We're not even, we talk about target of a 30. We're not going to get to 30 for quite a long time, but I mean, that's a great goal for us to have, but we're only talking about 0.8. They haven't had an increase since 2003. So even if you were to calculate what a 4% increase each year for 25 years, it would be well over 1750. And I know it's a tough pill to swallow right away, but it's also something that you have to be really made aware of. Whatever we do, it's gonna have to go up again and again for a little bit here until we get close to our fairly target is what I think.
Just for my curiosity's sake, were they aware of this like last year when we were all aware of it? Oh. What's next? Ready.
I know I see the numbers from their revenue and expenses. They can't afford it. Will they be able to even have a club going further? Like it's. Like obviously they're already in the red. So.
Nobody can answer that.
I know,
except them,
like-
right? Like,
I feel bad for those kids that won't be able to, and, you know, if they can't afford it, then they're not gonna be able to swim. It won't be a club. But I get why you have to increase.
Lisa.
One of the things that I do know about the swim club is the invitational swim meet is very well received. And it does bring a lot into our community. I hear about it kind of all the way around. So I know that that is something that I have a look at, as well as, you know, the efforts made in terms of their revenue, like what it is that they're bringing in and how much they're raising, and their contributions as a club in itself. You talked a little bit about this will the higher number will take effect when they start come January, correct? Okay, so given I understand that the sensitivity to the time, but if the group chooses to wait until the next meeting to make a decision, what does that mean for they're already paid and then the shift happens? What happens to that reverse effect? How will that impact them if we make that motion to go to the 13% and they've paid the 17? What happens to that?
13%.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess lots of things, like we could determine a course of action of what we want to do. We could only bill up to the time of change. Like we don't have to give them the full bill. We could keep it tentatively, and the date it changes, we can change their bill accordingly to that.
Okay.
That's what I would suggest. They've had enough time to prepare and bring this forward prior to this fees and bylaw being passed in December. So I feel that now is the time they want to change, then we just follow the proper procedure, do the rules the way they're supposed to be done. And if you guys recommend a fee change to council and then council changes it, well, then it changes at that time.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So I was kind of hoping with this that we would see someone from the Otter Swim Club here. Now, in the past, when I was on council and we were handing out grant and aids, if you didn't take the time to come and defend your position, you didn't get the grant and aid. It's just simply the way it is. So I'm a little disappointed we don't have someone here fighting for this. But again, I do understand how important it is. And I think we should be very clear that if we go to $13 next year, we probably would then go up to probably 15. The following year would be 17. There needs to be small increases every year on this until we start to plateau out and we don't have the costs at the pool, but that's never going to happen. That pool goes consistently. We've had boiler problems this week. So, and when we have boiler problems, then the elderly ladies don't get to do their jazzercise in the leisure pool and I get phone calls. So it's too cold. So people really rely on it. And I have to admit, it gets used a lot. I'm very happy with the amount of use it gets. I'm very happy with the amount the gym gets used and the equipment is kept up and everything is clean and tidy. It's one of the nicest pools that you'll come across. But the team has been around for a long time. And I think council would be more than happy to support a change as long as, I mean, youth in the valley is important. And youth sports are important. So myself, we do have a meeting this Tuesday night, the 14th. This could be brought forward if we so wish, or we could do as Mr. Zackel said, keep the rates where they are now until we make a decision and then go from there. So again, totally and I mean, the only reason I bring up the 13 is because it's some raise, but not a total raise. But I mean, if somebody wants to drop it back to something else, that makes sense, but I would have to be honest that we wouldn't want to go back too far here because we wouldn't be doing much except just, moving the deck chairs a little bit, but there, let's be honest here. We all know how expensive sports is. I mean, minor hockey, parents pay a lot of money. And we give as much as we can to help them with that. But there are other groups that get a lot better deals than minor hockey parents do. So again, I do want to see this continue on. I do want to see this club do what they're doing. But that's just, I'm open to whatever you guys would like to do.
Looking at this, it says the number of participants in this, it says 30. Are those the 30 people that are in the swim club?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's an average. So average, I was given an average. They usually have about 20 in their winter club swim. They have an average of about 30 swimmer participants. That number can totally change with whatever registration. They can have a way higher registration, raise more money. They could have a lower where their registration is lower. I mean, every user group has that issue with participants and registrations. Yeah.
Yeah, their letter said last year was 59 total, so 30 in summer and 20 in the winter is lower than what they had last year.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious on that.
Yeah, how the numbers work out, right? What their registration is right now.
Yeah, and if they have less swimmers, they probably, I would recommend they don't rent 3 lanes. Right. So less swimmers just rent 2 lanes and their bill would go down. If you have more swimmers, well, they obviously rent more lanes because they want the kids swimming, not standing on deck waiting for their turn.
Just out of curiosity, is when they have 3 lanes booked, is there more lifeguards on staff? Like, is there additional cost?
No, we have our normal 2 lifeguards. We have to watch numbers when they attend, but it's our normal staffing operation days. In the past, one of their coaches would have a lifeguarding certificate, so we could rely on them for lifeguard saving, but that hasn't happened in the last few years. So
Would be a good option to give them, I guess. Could we discuss that? Like if their coaches were lifeguard certified, their rates could drop?
well, so we couldn't put less,
Theoretically.
they're responsible for their club. They're not responsible for all patrons, right? So, and
Yeah.
it's open to the public, leisure pools open, the pubs, the pool's not actually closed when swim club uses it.
Yeah.
So
So I guess are we wanting to wait? Are we wanting to we could recommend the $13 an hour and then talk about this next time and change it again? Or no, we need to make a decision.
Well, the things that I'm suggesting is that we in-kind the pool for the tournament and we go to $13. We can then talk about what that looks like in our next meeting and start talking about what next year's increase would look like. Or we could go to 1750 and be done with it and keep everything as it is. But again, decision of this group. We could move forward as soon as Tuesday night and have this on the agenda to be discussed by council. Council may look at this and go, oh, this is crazy. Or they may say this is fantastic. So it's hard to say where it goes. But again, that's just my suggestion. There might be other suggestions that this group has. And again, we don't want to cripple anyone, but we have to, in order for the city, the only way the city makes money is taxes. It's the only way. We have no other way of making money. And, there's other taxes that come along with it, like TNRD taxes us. We pay our house tax of whatever it's going to be, 8.5, 9.5. And then you got another 5.5 from TNRD on it, but that's a hidden tax. People aren't aware of this. So there's always taxes that we have to, you know, line painting, as I've said before, we no longer contract that out, can't afford it. You know, we're running into an RCMP situation where almost half of our budget goes to RCMP. At some point in time, we've got to put a stop to it because we just cannot continue to climb that ladder. We just can't afford these things to a certain degree. We're growing, but not as fast as some of the costs that are coming in. So when you see something like this, and we threw out the 1750, we knew immediately that there would be pushback. Of course there would be. It's 150% increase. So now we talk about what makes sense and how do we get there? It's an education piece. And that's why I'm glad this group is very involved in recreation, because you guys, you know, you're out with your kids, you know what this costs, you know what it takes, right? So we can do a couple of things. I would suggest that if we agree with the 13 and comp the event, send that Tuesday night to council, see what they have to say. Council may say absolutely not, and it comes back to us.
Did they give you a, like, I know they have for the revenue, like how much for the registration? Do they actually tell you how much per kid they have to pay for the registration? Cause that would have been kind of handy for them to have done that. Then you kind of know.
No, I didn't get that information from them, no, but I would imagine it's probably on their website of what it costs per registration for the kids,
Well,
but we
Guess
can.
you could do the.
You could do the quick math, yeah, if like
I'm not
winter,
good with quick
winter
math.
well, I can't do the summer in my head, but winter registration was 4,000. If they get on average 20 kids, you can expect that they paid $200. Right? Which,
That's not bad though for how many months, honestly.
yeah, winter is
$200.
October to March, right?
You know,
Six
what comes
months.
with it, the coaches, the expensive, all the things, that's not that bad. But to increase that, so, you know.
Just want a clarification on the in-kind for the tournament. Is that moved like forever? Like, is that what your plan is, or was it just for the 1 year? It was, that's, okay.
So one of the easier things that the city and the council can do, considering we own the buildings, is to do in kind. Because we're basically taking, there's not a lot of money exchanged in that. We're just comping it. Now, Dave probably hates to hear this because there's wages that will come out of that, right? But at some point, you, every time, when you have to, there's acceptable loss, I call it. In order to keep your community viable and you accept things. The pool will never make money. The arena will never make money. The jump park costs money. The fields cost money, but you have that so your community will grow. Nobody's going to move here if they can't play baseball or softball or go swimming or play hockey. Forget it. It's not going to happen. So you do a thing called acceptable loss. And again, Dave probably hates hearing that, but for one time out of the year that can help them do a better event and make it more palatable, then, but another council could come in after this one and say, absolutely not, that it can be changed by, it's a bylaw. Any bylaw can be changed by council at any point in time. I just think that we've done it for other groups. We've given them in kind as far as the civic center and stuff. We've done this before. And it's an easy fix, not an easy fix, but it's easy to do. It's one of the easier things to do. And it goes to show that we believe in their event and we believe in their club. And we would like to see them around.
I do appreciate what Lisa had said about like where the numbers come from, right? So with the fields, we kind of had a breakdown of what other cities pay. Has any research been done on that? Like, are we close or have we not looked at that?
We have looked at in the past, and that's where we kind of come up with some of our rates of what other user groups, but every group and every facility and every town does things differently. So to get comparables, it's really, really tough to get an accurate measurement. We really need to just focus on what we do for our youth, what we do for our facilities, because our costs are not their costs. Our operations run not the way their operations run.
Makes sense. Josh?
It's hard to be relative too, because the user groups are smaller in our community than most facilities that are going on. So you can wash, I think, a lot more into the community side of things. Rather than trying to pin it on just the swim club. But I do get what you're saying on that. You were saying though in the beginning that people will pay a user fee and then they pay for their swim rental on top of that?
So for example, Princeton Swim Club came to our pool to do swimming, to do their club swimming. They are billed out a rental, the lane rental, and they're also billed a user fee per swimmer. Our club doesn't get billed that. They just pay a user the lane rental at all. That's the only cost. So they actually get a subsidy from the city by not being charged that extra fee.
Okay,
If a club did it in multiple days, they'd be paying that every day they came in, they'd be paying the user fee for another day. Our swim clubs uses it multiple days and they don't pay any user fee. They just pay the lane rental.
gotcha. Okay.
So are we comfortable with going ahead and making that recommendation to council with the $13 a lane? Per lane per hour and in kinding the swim meet? Lisa?
Just taking into consideration that no fees have been, or no increase has happened since 2003. It's just concerning in itself. So I do believe we have to make some movement. I think the compromise is fair. Now I'm not no pool expert, but I'm assuming it's not cheap to run a pool by any means. I think we need to make some movement on this.
Just taking a look at this, your daily rate for a child to go to the pool is $325, correct? Right, so we're comping them right now, so they don't pay for that by joining the swim club. So if you had, let's say 20 kids in the winter months, that'd be $60 plus that is not being charged towards these children who go there. I don't think $13 is an unrealistic raise. But the thing is too, and what you had kind of brought up earlier, I would have liked to see them here to actually defend this a little bit more.
I agree. Randy?
I agree with everybody. But it has to be raised, and what you're saying with the in-kind is definitely, I think they'll appreciate that. No, they're probably not gonna like the fact that they can't get the grant and aid, but they get an extra $200 with the in-kind,
It pretty much, yeah.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty close, but, yeah, same thing that Josh said, it's not unreasonable to go up that much if they're already getting so much off their lane fee, like for every kid. They don't have to pay.
Well, I think Mr. Zacco brings up a great point. If you don't need 3 lanes, don't use 3 lanes. Start to monitor and police what you're doing, what your costs are, and where you can trim costs as well. I understand, have a look, you start looking at things like, I understand awards need to be, and you've got goodie bags and all this, that kind of stuff. Maybe start looking at getting sponsors for that kind of stuff. Start doing some, that kind of stuff. Look at look interior to help us help you, because we need some help from them as well. And the more that they can save, the more that they can put in their pocket. So I myself, I think I've been thinking about this all day, and I met with Mr. Zacco this morning. We talked about it, and I still think this is fair. Now, as you know, we're talking, it's like an extra $200, but actually it's a lot more, because there's a lot more that takes to run that pool in 3 days than just what the 1,400, way a lot more. But those are kind of like hidden costs. I would say we're probably closer to $2,700 to $3,000 for those 3 days, easy. And then they get to keep that $1,200 in their pocket, or whatever it is, 1,400. So for myself, I think it's a compromise, but I think we let them know that this is something we review every year. This commission will review this every year as we get closer to budget. It's going to happen, and to expect small increases, because we need to be more aware, and we need to be more responsible to make sure we don't bomb somebody with 150% increase, because that's really tough to take.
I think what helps have these conversations is we're not picking and choosing which clubs. We've asked to like look across the whole landscape and everyone has to contribute somewhere. And I don't think that, we talked about increasing that rate for out of town people coming in using the fields. We talked about, if you're not playing till 6:30, don't book until 6:30, right? So we've all had to really think outside the box of how to be, just dollars and cents. If they matter that much, then really look at it from all points of view. So yeah, I feel in the same direction. I don't feel like this is an unreasonable one by any means.
I would like to also make this clear too, when you look at the expenses that are in here, your lane fees are 5% of your entire expenses. So realistically, out of that expenses, it's only an increase of 2 to 3% going to $17. So when we look at for these, I don't know all the ins and outs of the swim club, obviously. But right now, 2 or 3% increase, we deal with that economically every year. So I don't think going to 1750 is unrealistic, but I do like the plan that we do have going forward.
Okay, let's make that motion. Are we doing it just for the swim club? Or are we putting like a nonprofit line in the bylaws?
So since meeting was about Otter Swim Club rate, this would be for Otter Swim Club rate.
Just that, right?
Anything else after that would have to, I think, be another day. So the motion that I'm making is that we go to $13 an hour and we in kind the swim meet in May. Is it May? Long weekend?
Swim club beat fluctuates. They're usually told which date they get to host it on. There is an anomaly that has happened in the past that you might be need aware of. There, one, they were told they had to have a swim meet on the Canada Day long weekend. So they had to have the pool operating on Canada Day, which is double time for our employees, where we said, well, no, you have to pay this bill. So in kind is a great idea, but we might want to be careful of what we're in kinding. Just in case, because I mean, those are exceptional costs that the taxpayer shouldn't have to bear.
So my motion would be that we would do the $13. We would do the in kind for non-holiday swim meet. If we run into a stat holiday, then the difference would have to be made up.
Second?
I second.
Yeah.
I was sure you had to say something first.
No, I don't think so. That
Yeah,
motion
I
was
second
made. Randy
that
seconded.
motion.
All in favor of this motion? Okay, nobody is opposed. Motion is carried. Motion is carried. Oh, yes, it is.
So what I would suggest is that, Josh, I see you a little bit hesitant there. Still digest this. Changes can be made as we move forward. This is not sealed in stone for the rest of our days. But I think this gives them a little bit of flex on that it's not going to be as severe as they thought it was going to be. And, you do bring up a good point about the 5%. It's a really good point. And I think that's where we need to start talking and letting them know that what you're seeing is really not all that horrible to a certain degree. But we still can talk about this, and I think we should, as we'll talk again about the rec fees for the fields next year as well. It's something where we'll have conversation.
Josh.
The thing that I think we're focusing on, or sorry, I should say they're focusing on, is the 150% increase. When realistically, in the grand scheme of things, it is not that an unrealistic expenditure. I do like that we're going to help them. We want them to grow and continue, but it's stuff that we need to realize. Like, even from my the business, I'm seeing that 5-10% increase just in my costs on stuff right away. So.
That's it. Does anybody else have any other new business that they want to bring up today? We're done with them. Nobody had anything? Okay, let's try to set a date for the next meeting.
We're supposed to meet 4 times a year. Or at the discretion of the chair.
We've been going monthly, or we still? Yeah.
Because of the
Oh, sorry.
situation.
Okay,
But I'll just do this.
yeah.
So traditionally, committees meet 4 times a year. So this being January, we would go February, March, April. We would have a meeting in sometime near the end of April. But it's at the discretion of the chair. If something came up that you felt, or one of us felt, needed to get a hold of you and say, Amy, I think we should have a meeting. We've got something outstanding. You can call it at any point in time. And 75% of the group can call it if you choose not to. So but traditionally we meet 4 times a year. So I would say the next meeting should be in April unless something comes up that we feel that we need to meet and talk about. And the whole idea, reason we do that is because we know that you're volunteering. This is your time. You're away from family, the whole bit. And we don't want to download any more on your life than we have to. And the only reason we were meeting monthly is because we were coming into budget, and that was important that we got that done. And you guys were drinking from a fire hose right off the get-go. So we wanted you guys just to be really educated on the part of how you shape a budget. And you did amazing job. So I would say sometime in April, if we're cool with that. And if we feel that we need to meet before that, or Amy, you feel we need to meet before that because something's come up, you just make the call. You give Linda a call and she will schedule it.
April 10th or 17th is the weekend before Easter. So I was thinking the 10th maybe. Okay. Okay. We could do the week before Easter. That doesn't bother me. Sure. Did you have something to say? Yeah.
Running a business, what's the best time for you for this to happen? Is 6 too early?
Well, I close at 7. So like, I actually kind of forgot that we had our meeting. So I was literally like, I looked at the clock. It's like, oh, it's 5 to 6, and then I get the notification. Your meeting starts in 5 minutes. No. All the lights are coming off. Doors are getting locked. I'm running.
So should we look at maybe 6:30?
I just don't want to inconvenience you guys. That's. I mean, I don't mind. I can shut down the shop a little bit early. I just had customers in there right till 6 o'clock. So I was trying to shut them up, but this is not.
You also don't want business.
And this is for the greater good of the community.
And it's Thursday, a good day.
Thursdays work well for
But
me, to
we
be honest.
kind of
I
agreed
usually don't
on
have
it.
much going on.
Yeah, I just got my husband's meetings here's Thursday, but if it's that early in the month, it's like third, that is totally be fine, nothing at all.
Okay. Okay, April 3rd, 6:15. Split the difference. Oh, we have to adjourn. Oh, right. We have quorum. Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
Well, you just gotta.
Oh, wait, a motion to terminate the meeting. Oh, we have to vote for the third. Kate, motion for next meeting to be April 3rd. All in favor, seconded. Okay, and then motion to terminate the meeting. I just hit it. I just terminate it. Terminate it. Bye. Let me write this down. Oh,
Take your mic,
oh, yeah.